Election day is drawing near. What is it that you fear? Oh my goodness, I'm thinking about coming into the election cycle. It's going to conclude Tuesday, November 5. And as a professor here at Appalachian State University, I'm faculty in residence. It's something I've done for 15 years. I just love it. I live in and among students. I live in one of our biggest residence and newest residence hall now, New River, approximately 750 students. And also I started about that same time, 15 years ago, I started an active living residential learning community where we can celebrate the wonderful area around Boone, North Carolina, here in the Northwest Mountains of North Carolina and the high country. But many times I'm thinking now again about students and the wonderful contributions our current students will be making to society. One of the things I've come up with a long time ago is, in a sense, it's not my time, it's their time, right? I've had a long career, wonderful career in sport and event marketing. Later in life, got more degrees, became a full-time academic. It's been wonderful, but we have to think about who are the future leaders, right? And the generation I work with day after day, they are the future. They must become the leaders. Right? And many times in society now, we talk about the age of our leadership, and some would suggest we want to let the younger generations come up and get them empowered into the leadership, right? So I'm going to do an event election night on campus, and I often host intercept events. Something I learned from my past in sport marketing. We used to do a lot of mobile tours. And you intercept individuals at a point of high traffic, right? In this case, it could be the lobby of our big residence hall. In the past, it might have been in the pits at a sport event. But what I like to do is share something, a small gift. Usually it's a custom cookie. It'll be cupcakes on election night. And when I give a student the small gift, I have a question. And we interrelate through my prompt and how they respond. Couple weeks ago, I did a come back to university event. We were off campus for almost 3 weeks based on destruction of the last hurricane, the one that came to our part of the country, and we were assessing buildings and such. And App State had some damage, and as you probably know from local and national news, damage in surrounding communities was much, much worse. But in that question that time, what students felt most, and I said, how do you view people around you now versus how you might have viewed individuals prior to the hurricane? And most would suggest that it was about this comforting, this feeling of hope, this feeling that people, in politics, we call it reaching across the aisle. But in this sense, how many people saw people helping other people, right? Didn't matter for that moment in time. It wasn't about politics or beliefs or who did the latest rant on social media. It was about who needs a chainsaw, right? Who needs a new bridge built across their stream to get back to their property. It was just people helping people, and it came back down to that basic human trait, and it was wonderful. So now here we are again in a polarized, fragmented society, where many will shout down and try to denigrate the other, where there seems to be, very limited wiggle room between POV from one political point to the other. And my question to students on election night was, and again, I'm still framing this, make comments below. How would you frame that question? But my thinking is about going forward, day after the election, whatever the result, how do you view the social contribution you will make to society going forward? Right? We all have lives to live, and we can all probably understand how this will play out from winners to losers, right? High five grandstanding, pushing it in the face of others for the winners. And for the losers, Is there protest? Is there violence? Is there rejection of results? You know, the democracy, do we have it? Do we don't have it? Let's bring that down to a micro level. Who are you? Who am I? What are we going to do for others going forward day after? Do we have compassion? Can we see past that election result and say, what can I do how can I help those around me? Day after, life goes on, right? How are we going to be able to contribute? How are we going to be metaphorical balm for the soul for others? You know, and that's, you know, despite my own political persuasion, I have always tried to live in compassion to the other, and you strive for it, right? It's not something that's easy every day, but I always try to think, how does that individual hold that point of view? Right? Where did that point of view come from? Is their life? And of course it is probably a different context from my own life. From my generational point of view till now, what is their point of view? What's their life? How do they live? And what drives them to, you know, adhere so strongly to a certain point of view? Matter of fact, I'm teaching my research course again in the next semester, and I think I'm going to do something on this. Just really, how do consumers learn to perceive the candidates and filtered through what sort of social media, or, you know, what would have been traditional news channels, newspapers, long form podcast, you know, short form podcasts. Now, you know, we see so much of this reiterating of, you know, people excerpting little bites or quotes from someone and then making a comment on it. You know, it's almost a feeding frenzy for views. But in all that, who are we and how can we step beyond that day after election and think more about others? Put others ahead of ourselves and just try to be compassionate and sympathetic, no matter where it ends or what side of the vote we're on, to think about others and students and everyone else around us and how we can be beneficial for them. Okay. Let's move forward. I hope that goes well with my students. And I think that we just try to be, let's all try to be metaphorical balm for the soul of everyone else who comes into our path in the days following that presidential election.